Happy Mercury Day, collective. Mercury Day is Wednesday. Hadn't noticed. I like to slip in little tidbits about the planets because, well, it's always been an interest of mine, studying the planets and the planetary movements, but also just in the spirit of getting in the pace with nature and sort of contemplating how the things above affect the things below, and just like contemplating with food how the things within affect the things without. As above, so below, as within, so without. I think that introducing people to these sort of symbolic meanings of things that we generally take for granted in the pace of our lives nowadays. I don't know, I think that there's some sort of magic in waking up in the middle of the week and instead of going, Wednesday, hump day, we even like saying hump day anyway. I prefer Mercury Day. Mercury is the planet of thinking, analysis. And if you think about where you often find yourself on Wednesdays, is it not sort of assessing, the beginning of the week and then assessing what you've got left of the week? It's just kind of a natural day for planning and thinking about the days past and the days forward in the immediate sense. So I thought I'd make this little video and not only sprinkle in a little bit of planetary talk, but also a little bit of numerology. So today is the 18th, and I don't know how much you know about numerology, but basically the way it works is all numbers reduced to a single digit between 1 and 9. So 18, you just add 1 and 8 together. 18 is a 9 day. And, I encourage everyone to, if you're curious, if this kind of like sparks your interest, go look up number 9 in numerology and kind of get the full rundown on the people that really know the nitty gritty. But 9 is a number of, you might say, completion, but not finality. It's like wholeness. I like to liken it to wholeness, but wholeness that comes from yourself. It's wholeness in oneself. Wholeness in a more or less solitary manner. And I'm going to loop in the tarot. Number 9 is when you go to the major arcana, it's the Hermit card, which is necessarily, somebody by themselves, kind of an introspective card. But when you go to the minor arcana, and, spoiler alert, I do plan on looping these things into future videos moving forward. There's a lot of material to cover in the areas of astrology, numerology, plants, planets, tarot. I hope to kind of paint the picture that it's all the same thing. But yeah, so in the minor arcana, there are the 4 elements represented: earth, air, fire, and water. And today I wanted to kind of bring in the 9 of Pentacles. So 9 of Pentacles, as you can see, it's this woman and she's by herself and she's just in this garden. It's just abundant. She's got these 9 pentacles. She's holding this bird and she's got the just the beautiful bounty in the background, and yellow being the color of enlightenment. It's a card of abundance, but abundance that is attained all by oneself. There's no gender in tarot. So if you're a male, don't think that this video is exclusive to someone who identifies as a woman or female. It's a feminine energy though here. It's abundance. It's like a Venusian abundance all by oneself. She's A lot of tarot readers will call her pre-Empress energy. But I wanted to talk about the Nine of Pentacles today because Pentacles is generally associated with resources, like things in the physical material world, having abundance all by oneself. So, in the most literal sense, supporting yourself financially. But I personally choose to interpret, I think other readers do too, Pentacles as energy because it is sort of a resource. Anyone that's really assessed like the value of their time in this modern world, you realize that time is money. Energetic expenditure is money. It's your currency. So Nine of Pentacles energy is not just somebody who writes their own checks out or whatever, but it's somebody who is self-sufficient energetically. They don't need, not that they don't want or don't value, and I think everybody needs others, to be clear, but talking about, looping in the themes of our last videos of you're on your own, kid, you always have been. I encourage you to watch that one, inspired by a night going to see the Eras tour in cinema. About self-accountability, self-sufficiency, but most specifically in this video, highlighting energetic self-sufficiency. In other words, you showing up to a group as somebody who is energetically self-sufficient are the ultimate contribution because you don't need to feed off of the energy of others in order to feel whole. Now, I definitely believe that, collaboration, the energy exchange that occurs when multiple people bringing their own energetic wholeness and self-sufficiency, that's how like great things are built, for sure. But the best group dynamic is going to be one to where everybody showing up is in that sort of Nine of Pentacles energy. We're all showing up self-sufficient, energetically self-sufficient. And I think that that's something really important because it can be easy to equate abundance and wholeness with, how can I have that without the presence of someone else? Especially if you do aspire to have somebody else in your life. I think internally we all sort of long for that sort of that other half, the person that not makes us whole, but that brings like a fullness to our lives that only like, finding just the right partner can. Two whole people coming together and then creating something, where they say the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, so to speak, creating a whole new thing. So, I was out today, as you can see, and getting some flowers because I've always had this affinity for purchasing flowers for myself, because it makes me happy. It's sort of like when I look at what abundance is to me, what makes me feel abundant, what makes me feel surrounded by abundance. I like nice things, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's these little things. It's like I'd rather forego spending money on like going out to eat a bunch of times or even like, really expensive clothing items or other things that I can see the appeal of for sure. But for me, they don't make me feel abundant. They temporarily might make me feel, I don't know, like in a superficial way. Again, this is my own value system. So what makes me feel abundant is not going to be what makes you feel abundant. But I guess I'm just trying to show people that maybe find themselves feeling insecure about what their limitations are financially, is inviting you to kind of reassess your value system and give yourself permission to create a new paradigm for yourself that doesn't require labels, fancy labels, expensive labels. It kind of looks to nature to help you sort of get in touch with what abundance in the timeless sense means, what abundance is created through elements that are equally accessible to everyone for the most part. Now, this bundle of flowers was $5. So, I mean, if you don't have $5, I guess technically speaking, it's not equally available to you. Although, if you have a flower garden, especially like focusing on making a cut flower garden, which has always been a thing of mine that I want to do, hopefully next season, to just create a section meant for cutting flowers, um, you know, then it actually is equally accessible. But, you know, there's nothing keeping up with the Joneses about spending $5 on this bundle of flowers here. And, maybe you're used to having someone buy you flowers. Maybe you have only gotten flowers when you're in relationships as a show of like, affection and love in a romantic sense. And I am here to tell you that while that's nice and all, there's nothing exclusive about flowers in terms of like being reserved for romantic gestures. In fact, you know, yes, I did receive flowers in the last relationship I was in. It was sort of like a regular thing. Before the relationship ended catastrophically at the beginning of this year, which we'll get more into as these videos progress. But, that's not the theme of this video. The theme of this video is about abundance, wholeness by one's self, wholeness on your own. And while I loved getting flowers in a romantic sense, even while I was in a relationship, I still would buy myself flowers. While I was in a relationship, one thing I like to do is if a friend came over and, their spouse was at home for whatever reason, I would often gather some flowers, sometimes just made up of parts of bouquets I had around the house, but sometimes, coming from my garden, and I would make a little bouquet for the friend to take home to their significant other, because why not? And, it's not like they try to pass it off as their own. They would say, Heather sent this. I've given bouquets of flowers to my friends, as gifts or going over as in substitute for bringing a bottle of wine somewhere, or in addition to bringing a bottle of wine. I give, if you have a mother or aunt or female figure, you've often I would assume maybe gotten them flowers or had flowers sent to them for holidays or just because. But the point is, maybe we should get a little bit more comfortable with not only buying ourselves flowers, but also like giving flowers to show love in a platonic sense. I think that a major theme of moving forward into the future, I think that community building and platonic love are going to become much greater themes in everyone's lives. And, thank goodness, to be honest, because it's easy to get caught up in thinking that I can never feel whole unless I have like a romantic partner. I have so much love to give, and I love flowers. I like buying flowers, but I don't have anybody to buy them for. Well, do you have a neighbor that looks like they could use a little pick me up? Do you have a bleak office space you have to show up to every day that, people pass by and you kind of think that maybe if not only you could benefit from putting a couple flowers out on your desk, everyone that passes by created this little moment of beauty in a otherwise sterile, fluorescent, light-laden office space. Hopefully your office space isn't as bleak as I'm making this sound. But the point is, flowers, in terms of the cost benefit, I guess you might say, weighs heavily in favor of the expenditure, in my very biased opinion, of course. So, as you can see, one thing I like to do is take from bouquets that I already had around the house. So I had this other one that I bought before my friend came and stayed with me a little over a week ago. And I thought there's some parts of it I'm going to have to weed out, that have kind of seen their best moments. But, if I sort of pick out the parts that are still going and then incorporate this newer bouquet, I can sort of create a whole new life out of the original bouquet. And, I haven't gone out to my garden to check. I do have some cone flowers, some purple, some echinacea growing by the mailbox. And so after this, because it just crossed my mind, I might go see if there's like a couple I can cut from there, just sort of plop in. It's a nice little compliment. But, I'm sure more than one song has been made about buying flowers for yourself. But I think the most contemporary one that everyone thinks of is Miley Cyrus, I Can Buy Myself Flowers. Pretty sure it came out last year, I want to say. And it's simple, but it's an important reminder because, again, at this time of year, there's a lot of like festivities. There's a lot of gatherings, and sometimes you might find yourself going, "Oh, well, should I? I don't have a plus one. I don't want to go to this holiday gathering or whatever." But you should definitely embrace your wholeness in being on your own, and especially if you want to bring something, if you're, say, invited to a little dinner, like a housewarming, get some flowers. And, sort of, especially if you're like, well, I don't know if they drink, or I don't know if it's like that kind of thing, and I don't know what kind of wine they drink anyway. I think that the simplicity, it's like going back to the basics, like a really just simple gesture of fondness and appreciation, that bringing flowers to somebody shows it's timeless. It's like also letting people know something about yourself in that moment. Say you're invited to like go somewhere and you're going to be around people that you haven't maybe met before or gotten to know very well. It's sort of saying, hey, these are the kind of things that are important to me. Just simple gestures. You're not trying to show off, the fanciness of the bottle of wine that you got or anything like that. You just thought, hey, just a little arrangement of flowers. Even better if you can cut a few from your garden, maybe spark conversation with some other plant or flower enthusiasts there. Make a new friend. Make some new friends, contacts, acquaintances. But just don't forget, even if none of that's on your horizon, you have not a dinner party in sight, not an invitation in sight, you are enough. You are reason enough to buy flowers. The fact that you have to wake up every day and sort of find beauty in simplicity or unexpected places when there's so much unpleasantness in the world and so many reasons to not see these things, you kind of need all the reminders you can get. And, I would like to, in these coming weeks and months over the winter, in the off season, I'm going to incorporate garden things and plant things in very creative ways. I'm going to kind of show you guys how I have always gotten through these months of, I can't go play outside in the garden. So these are the things that I do to kind of keep like the theme of plants and flowers at the forefront of my life. And sometimes it's even as, you know, abstract as like creative activities indoors that tend to pull from my love of plants and like the color green. I was thinking about including you guys in some of my painting projects I haven't gotten around to, where I spent like a lot of last year obsessing over these shades of green. Finally got to the point where I bought the green paints, and then, kind of had this tower moment, another tarot reference, sort of shake everything up in my life. And I got around to some of the painting, but I still have a lot of it sort of there, just begging me to get around to it. So I'm actually really, I finally gotten to the point this year to where I'm enthusiastic again about getting back to these creative projects, not letting that catastrophic event at the beginning of my life, or I'm sorry, the beginning of my year, disrupt not my entire life, but not even my entire year, you know? Because again, I'm important. I am reason enough to carry on with the things that I had planned to beautify the environment of this house, even if there is not, you know, somebody else here to share in that with. But guess what, you know, friends, neighbors, those are all people that add so much richness to my life. And so I guess the focus for me this year has very much been that Nine of Pentacles energy, that wholeness and self-sufficiency, energetic self-sufficiency, which is the thing I'm actually most proud of, to be honest, because, you know, if I do end up sharing my life in the, you know, more long-term sense with somebody else down the road, which I'm totally open to, it's just, I believe that in order for that to happen in the way that I would personally want, in a way that has longevity, I want to be energetically self-sufficient. And I want that person to also be energetically self-sufficient so that together we can, you know, have a beautiful life that two people who have done the work on their own can create and maybe sort of share in something greater than either person imagined. So on that note, I do hope you enjoyed this little capsule lesson, very, very lightly touching on numerology. And just for anyone interested, I did mention tarot includes the four elements: earth, air, fire, water. Pentacles is the earth energy. So earth energy is represented by the signs of Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus in astrology. Nine of Pentacles, pre-empress energy, wholeness and self-sufficiency, and she or he in the Nine of Pentacles energy should always remember that you can buy yourself flowers. Until next time.